Do you have people dissenting against what you're doing? Do you have people saying, why are you doing that? Why are you being so difficult? You're trying too hard. Come on, live a little. They're sort of fighting back against what you're trying to achieve. And for whatever reason they're doing it, because there'll be a number of different reasons why it could meet their need in different ways. And we've spoken about that. And we've spoken about having people around you to support you. But I think first and foremost, one thing that we have not looked at yet is that we should be grateful. We should be grateful that somebody actually considers enough to say something. They're looking out for us in some way. For whatever reason, we should be grateful. Someone cares enough to say something. I remember learning about this when I was managing a place, and we sort of have to look at how people were complaining in a different way, because we used to sometimes get upset because people would make some of the most ridiculous complaints. And then it came to a point where I was reading a book and it was talking about customers complaining, and it really reframed it. It says, they care enough to say something. That's important. Somebody cares enough to actually vocalize something. Imagine what's not being said. So we looked at it a different way. And then now that's how I start to look at people, sort of putting their input in to what we're doing, right? Now, it could be that for whatever reason, they want to feel like they have some sort of an input for whatever reason. But I think let's set that aside for now. I think we should look at the content of what they're saying first, like the actual points they're making. And I want you to review them. Are you possibly living too much at the 100 to 0, like on and off end of the spectrum, the 95-5, the 90-10? Are you living too much on that end? Are you getting too blindfolded, too, maybe the word is more laser focused on it? Are you getting too obsessive or compulsive about this? Are you losing out on other aspects of life because of how much you're focusing on this? Are you just not having a healthy approach towards it? I think it's a very good opportunity to reflect on that. And if you start to reflect on all your actions and the way you're approaching it and all that, and then you still feel like, no, that's not true, and you've honestly had that conversation with yourself, then, okay, we move on to the next piece. The next piece is to realize, why are they saying what they're saying? What is it, like what need is that meeting? Or why might they want to have that sort of influence on us? And it might be that they generally don't understand. They don't know what it takes to get to the goal, but they've heard it somewhere. They saw it on fitness website, something. They saw it on Dr. Oz. Their friend in the lunchroom told them something. Somebody who had maybe all the well and good intentions just didn't understand what they were talking about. Could be that. So I think if you've already reflected on what you're doing and you've made sure that you're not being too the content of what they're saying is true, you've already verified that it's not. The next step is to understand why they're saying that, and then start to have that conversation with them. Start to understand why they are having that sort of thought, like get to understand their side of why they're saying it. Secondly, is start to try to educate them if they're not educated. Like, why do you do it a certain way? Why is it that you have to do this? Why is it you have to have protein? Why is it you have to do resistance training? Why is it that you have to be in a calorie deficit? Like, help them understand. So maybe if they understand, they can start to support you a little bit better. And maybe in the process, they can learn something. And often, by teaching it to someone, it helps you to understand it a little bit better yourself, right? So there's that whole aspect. So you've reflected on what the content of what they said. You've understood why they might be saying it to you. You've had the conversation to try to educate them. And maybe they're still dissenting. So what do you do? So if it's somebody who's a friend, maybe you can create some space. And maybe that's the best case scenario. You want people around you who are supporting you, not causing you extra stress and making this more challenging for yourself. So what if it's a family member? That becomes a little bit more difficult. And I think, of course, you can't make space. I mean, there's only so much space you can make with family members. And I'll be the last person to say to totally cut off a family member. I don't care what it is, family is family. Anyway, once you've done all those things, you really want to put some extra effort in for them to understand. And if they need to come and speak to me, or you need to connect them with me, if I have to explain them, you have to send them some of my video, whatever it might be, they need to understand that we have a very pragmatic approach to this. Very, very evidence-based, very well-balanced approach to this. We're not trying to get too difficult. And if you are becoming difficult, then maybe now is that time to step back. We talked about that when we said let's reflect on it, right? So I think this final piece is to help them understand even more. So have them talk to me, have them talk to somebody else that they're not so much emotionally involved in, and maybe it helps you to have that conversation with them, right? So just a quick review. If you have people dissenting, first and foremost, let's review the validity of the content of what they're saying, not how they're saying it, what they're saying. Is there some truth to it? Help understand why they are approaching it the way they are. Help educate them. And if possible, if necessary, create that distance between you and them. Because the last thing you need towards going to your goal is the stress of having people who are dissenting.